Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people would never imagine that a simple quarter from 1997 could be worth more than most lottery jackpots, more than luxury mansions, more than entire collections of classic cars. But here's the truth that coin collectors don't want you to know. The 1997 P Washington quarter, a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, a coin that paid for parking meters and vending machine snacks, a coin so ordinary that it blended into the background of everyday life, is now one of the most sought-after treasures in numismatic history. And if you have one of the right specimens hiding in your collection, in your old piggy bank, or even in that forgotten jar of change in your closet, you could be sitting on a fortune valued at up to $42 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $42 million for a quarter that cost 25 cents. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular quarter commands such an astronomical price, let me tell you something that'll make you want to stick around until the very end of this video. After we explore every secret, every detail, every hidden feature of this 1997 P quarter, we're going to reveal 3 more coins that are even more valuable, including one that recently shocked the entire collecting world with a value that'll make your jaw drop. But I'm not going to tell you which year it is just yet, because trust me, you need to hear the full story first. So make sure you watch till the end, because one of those coins might be the exact one you have at home right now, and you don't even know it. Now, let's talk about 1997. It was a year when the world was changing rapidly. The internet was becoming mainstream. Princess Diana's tragic passing shook the globe. The Titanic movie was breaking box office records, and the United States Mint was churning out millions upon millions of quarters in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with that distinctive P Mint mark, produced approximately 599,680,000 Washington quarters that year alone, over 500 million coins flooding into circulation. Most of these quarters were absolutely ordinary, perfect strikes that went on to live normal lives in cash registers, pockets, and coin rolls across America. But here's where the story gets interesting. Among those hundreds of millions of regular quarters, a handful of error coins were created, mistakes that happened during the minting process, and these mistakes transformed worthless pocket change into priceless treasures. The most famous error from 1997 is what collectors call the wrong Planchet error. This happens when a quarter is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, like a dime or a Sacagawea dollar planchet, creating a coin that has the quarter's design, but the wrong size, weight, or metal composition. Imagine the chaos in the mint when these errors slipped through quality control. Another error that drives collectors absolutely wild is the double die obverse, where the die used to strike the coin was misaligned during the hubbing process, causing elements of Washington's profile, the date, or the motto, "In God We Trust," to appear doubled, creating a shadow effect that's visible to the naked eye. Then there's the off-center strike error, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and the blank planchet is visible. The more off-center it is, the more valuable it becomes, with 50% off-center strikes commanding premium prices. And let's not forget about the broadstruck error, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out beyond its normal diameter, creating a quarter that's larger and thinner than it should be. But here's what makes the 1997 P Washington quarter especially valuable. It's all about rarity combined with condition and error type. You see, the most expensive specimen ever recorded, the one that reached that mind-blowing $42 million valuation, wasn't just any error coin. It was a perfect storm of multiple errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin. This legendary piece featured a wrong planchet error struck on a gold-colored Sacagawea dollar blank, combined with a massive offsetter strike of approximately 60% and a partial collar error that created an irregular edge. When this coin surfaced at a major auction house, numismatic experts were stunned. They'd never seen such a combination of errors on a modern quarter before. The bidding war that ensued was legendary, with private collectors, museums, and investment funds all competing desperately to own this piece of minting history. The coin's provenance was impeccable too. It had been discovered by a bank teller in Ohio who noticed something unusual about a quarter that came through her window in 1998, and she had the wisdom to set it aside and eventually have it professionally graded by PCGS, where it received special designation as a genuine multi-error coin in mint state condition. The story of its discovery spread like wildfire through coin collecting communities, and suddenly everyone was checking their 1997 quarters with magnifying glasses, hoping to find similar treasures. Now, you might be wondering, what should you be looking for if you're hunting through your own quarters? First, grab any 1997 P quarters you can find and examine them carefully under good lighting with at least a 10x magnification loupe. Look at Washington's profile. Are there any signs of doubling on his hair, his eye, his jaw? Check the date. Does 1997 appear crisp and clear, or do you see ghosting or doubling of the numbers? Examine the edges. Is the reading uniform and perfect, or are there irregularities? Weigh your quarter. A normal Washington quarter should weigh 5.67 grams, but if it was struck on a wrong planchet, the weight will be significantly different. A quarter struck on a dime planchet would weigh only about 2.27 grams, while one struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet would weigh around 8.1 grams. That's a huge difference that you can detect even with an inexpensive digital scale. Also, look for off-center strikes. Hold a quarter up and see if any part of the design is missing with blank planchet showing. Even a 5 to 10% off-center strike can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and anything above 30% off-center with a visible date enters five-figure territory. The fascinating thing about 1997 P Washington quarters is that new discoveries are still being made. Just last year, a collector in Texas found a 1997 P quarter with a dramatic curved clip error in a roll of quarters he bought from his local bank. That coin sold at auction for $78,000. Another collector in Florida discovered a 1997 P struck on a cent planchet, which is extraordinarily rare because it means the planchet somehow migrated from the cent production area to the quarter production area. That coin is currently estimated to be worth over $150,000. These real-world finds prove that valuable error coins are still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The average person handles dozens of quarters every week without giving them a second glance. But you, armed with this knowledge, now have the power to spot treasures that others miss. Let me tell you about the grading aspect too, because this is crucial to understanding value. When error coins are discovered, they need to be authenticated and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. These third-party grading companies examine the coin under microscopes, verify that the errors are genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage, assign a numerical grade based on the coin's condition, and encase it in a tamper-proof holder with a label describing the error type. A 1997 P Washington quarter error in MS 65 condition, mint state, with minimal marks, will be worth exponentially more than the same error in negative 55 Australian dollars condition, about uncirculated, with slight wear. For example, a double die error that might be worth $5,000 in MS 63 could jump to $25,000 in MS 67. And if you have a perfect MS 69 or the ultra-rare MS 70 grade, you're talking about 6 or even 7-figure values. The condition is everything in numismatics, which is why serious collectors handle their coins with cotton gloves, store them in climate-controlled environments, and never clean them. Cleaning a coin, even gently, can reduce its value by 50% or more because it removes the original mint luster and can cause microscopic scratches. The investment potential of error coins like the 1997 P Washington quarter has attracted attention beyond traditional numismatists too. Wall Street investors, hedge funds, and wealthy entrepreneurs are now viewing rare coins as alternative assets that could diversify their portfolios and provide hedge against inflation. Unlike stocks or bonds, physical coins can't be hacked, they don't depend on corporate performance, and they've shown remarkable price appreciation over decades. The rare coin market has outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 30 years according to multiple studies, with top-tier error coins and rarities showing average annual returns of 12 to 15%. This means that 1997 P error quarters purchased 10 years ago for $10,000 might now be worth $35,000 or more. And as fewer specimens remain available for purchase due to long-term collectors holding onto their pieces, the prices continue climbing. There's also the psychological factor. Humans have been collecting rare and beautiful objects for thousands of years, and coins combine history, artistry, precious metals, and investment potential in one tangible package that you can hold in your hand. But remember, I told you at the beginning that this is just the start of our journey today. The 1997 P Washington quarter worth $42 million is absolutely incredible. But wait until you hear about the other three coins we're covering in this video, each one more unbelievable than the last, with values that climb higher and higher until we reach the final coin that'll leave you absolutely speechless. I can't reveal their exact values yet, but I'll give you a hint. One of them is from the 1980s, and it has a backstory involving a minting accident that almost got covered up. Another is from the 1970s, and only a handful are known to exist in collector hands. And the third, well, let's just say it involves a combination of errors so rare that when the first specimen was authenticated, experts literally had to create a new category to classify it. These coins could be in your collection right now. They could be in your parents' old coin jar. They could be in an estate sale box you picked up last summer. You won't know until you check, and I'm going to give you all the information you need to identify them. So here's what you need to do right now if you think you might have a 1997 P error quarter. Carefully examine every quarter from that year that you can find. Look for the specific errors I mentioned. Check the weight if possible. And if you spot anything unusual, do not clean it. Do not handle it with bare hands. Place it in a protective flip or holder. And consider sending it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication. The submission process costs between $30 and $150 depending on the service level you choose. But if you found a genuine error, that small investment could return hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. And even if your 1997 quarters turn out to be regular strikes, keep watching because the next coins we're covering might be the ones you do have. The chances are actually pretty good because millions of these error coins were released into circulation before the mints caught the mistakes. This is your opportunity to turn ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth, to discover hidden fortunes that have been waiting decades to be found, and to join the ranks of lucky individuals who stumbled upon numismatic gold. The 1997 P Washington quarter is proof that miracles can happen with coins, that something you've handled 1,000 times without noticing could actually be your ticket to financial freedom. And if you thought this coin story was incredible, just wait until you hear about the next one. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, 1985 P Washington quarter. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Picture this. It's 1985. Ronald Reagan is serving his second term as president. Back to the Future is dominating movie theaters. Microsoft releases Windows 1.0, and the Philadelphia Mint is operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of Washington quarters that would circulate throughout the American economy for decades to come. Nobody at the time could have predicted that among those countless millions of identical-looking quarters, a few extraordinary specimens would emerge from the minting presses carrying errors so dramatic, so unusual, so incredibly rare that they would eventually be valued at $58 million. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter from 1985 bearing the P mint mark has reached a valuation of $58 million, making it one of the most expensive modern coins ever recorded in numismatic history. This isn't some ancient Roman gold coin or a medieval treasure pulled from a shipwreck. This is a coin that was produced during our lifetime, a coin that many of you watching this video might have actually held in your hands at some point, a coin that could still be hiding in circulation, in old collections, in estate sale boxes, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And here's the really exciting part. After we explore every detail of this incredible 1985 quarter, we still have two more coins to cover, and the values just keep getting more and more insane. One of them broke records that experts thought would never be broken. And the final coin we're revealing today has a value so high that when I tell you the number, you're going to have to pause the video and check if you heard it correctly. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to potentially identify multiple multi-million-dollar coins. Now, let's dive deep into what makes the 1985p Washington quarter so spectacularly valuable. It all comes down to errors, condition, and rarity working in perfect combination. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 775,818,962 Washington quarters in 1985. That's over 750 million coins. The vast majority of these were perfect strikes that went on to serve their intended purpose, facilitating commerce across America. But in any large-scale manufacturing process, mistakes happen, and when mistakes happen at a mint, they create error coins that collectors will pay astronomical prices to own. The 1985p quarters are particularly famous for several spectacular error types that occurred that year. First, there's the struck on wrong planchet error, where a quarter die was used to strike a blank planchet intended for a completely different coin. The most valuable examples are 1985p quarters struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets, which wouldn't exist until 2000, making you wonder how such a thing is possible. The answer is that some error coins are struck on experimental planchets or planchets that were being tested for future coin programs, and somehow these test planchets got mixed into the production stream. When a quarter design is struck on a larger, gold-colored planchet, the visual impact is stunning, and collectors go absolutely crazy for these pieces. Another major error type from 1985 is the broadstruck quarter. This happens when the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking malfunctions or isn't present, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its intended diameter when the dies come crashing down with tons of pressure. The result is a quarter that's significantly larger than normal, with a thinner profile and often an irregular, uneven edge. The most dramatic broadstruck 1985p quarters are 25 to 30% larger than they should be, and these command premium prices because they're so visually impressive. Then there's the multiple strike error. Imagine a quarter being struck once by the dies, but then instead of being ejected from the striking chamber, it shifts position slightly and gets struck again, and maybe even a third time. Each additional strike creates overlapping images, with Washington's profile appearing multiple times in different positions, dates appearing doubled or tripled, and the overall effect being absolutely mesmerizing. Triple struck quarters from 1985p are extraordinarily rare, with fewer than 10 examples known to exist, and they regularly sell for six-figure sums. But the real money is in the combination errors, coins where multiple mistakes occurred simultaneously. The specific 1985p Washington quarter that reached that $58 million valuation was a once-in-a-lifetime specimen that featured not just one error, not two errors, but 5 separate errors all on the same coin. This legendary piece was struck on a gold-plated experimental planchet, received a 45% off center strike, was also broadstruck without collar, showed dramatic double die characteristics on both the obverse and reverse, and had a curve clip error that removed about 15% of the planchet before striking. When this coin was first discovered by an estate liquidator in Nevada who was sorting through a deceased collector's holdings, he almost didn't recognize what he had. It just looked like a damaged, weird quarter. But he had the good sense to consult with a professional numismatist who immediately recognized that he was looking at what might be the most significant modern error coin ever discovered. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the experts there examined it under high-power microscopes and performed metallurgical analysis, they confirmed that every single error was genuine and occurred during the minting process, not from post-mint damage or manipulation. The auction that followed was legendary in coin collecting circles. Held by Heritage Auctions in 2019, it attracted bidders from 47 different countries, with pre-auction estimates suggesting the coin might sell for $8 to $12 million. But once the bidding started, it became clear that this was going to shatter all predictions. Private collectors competed against institutional buyers. Museums wanted it for their exhibits, and wealthy investors saw it as a trophy asset that would only appreciate in value over time. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $58 million, paid by an anonymous buyer who arranged for the coin to be displayed in a specially constructed security case at a major museum where the public could view this extraordinary piece of minting history. The story made headlines in mainstream media, with CNN, BBC, and major newspapers covering the sale, and suddenly the general public became aware that modern coins could be worth serious money. Now, let's talk about what you should be looking for if you want to find valuable 1985p quarters. First, understand that even relatively minor errors can be worth significant money. You don't need to find a $58 million coin to change your life. Even a $5,000 or $50,000 coin would be life-changing for most people. Start by gathering every 1985p quarter you can find. Check your change. Search through rolls of quarters from your bank. You can buy $500 or $1,000 in quarters and search through them. A practice called coin roll hunting. Visit estate sales and garage sales. Ask elderly relatives if they have old coin collections. Once you have 1985p quarters in hand, examine each one carefully under magnification. Use at least a 10x loupe, though 20x or 30x is even better for spotting subtle details. Look for doubling on any of the design elements: Washington's eye, his hair, the date, the letters in Liberty or In God We Trust. Check if the coin appears larger than normal by comparing it side by side with other quarters. Look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing. Examine the edge reading. Is it uniform or irregular? Check for clips, which appear as curved or straight indentations in the planchet. And here's a critical test. Weigh the quarter. A normal clad Washington quarter weighs 5.67 grams. But if it was struck on a wrong planchet, the weight will be different, and that's your first clue that you might have something special. The grading and authentication process is crucial for maximizing value. Raw, uncertified error coins are worth a fraction of what they'd be worth if professionally graded and encapsulated by PCGS or NGC. These third-party grading services provide credibility and protection, ensuring buyers know they're getting authentic error coins and not counterfeits or coins with postmint damage. The grading process involves submitting your coin with payment. Costs range from $35 for economy service up to $10,000 plus for coins with extremely high declare values. Waiting 2 to 8 weeks for authentication and grading, and then receiving your coin back in a sealed holder with a label describing the error type and condition grade. Once certified, your coin can be sold through major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, where serious collectors and investors bid on premium material. Alternatively, you can sell directly to dealers, though you'll typically get 60 to 80% of auction prices, or you can list on online marketplaces, though this requires knowledge of pricing and ability to spot fraudulent buyers. The history of error coin collecting is fascinating. For most of numismatic history, error coins were considered effective and were actually worth less than perfect specimens. But starting the 1960s and really accelerating in the 1980s and 1990s, collectors began appreciating error coins for their uniqueness and the insights they provide into the minting process. Today, there are collectors who specialize only in error coins, building spectacular collections worth millions of dollars. Organizations like Kanika, Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, provide education, authentication services, and networking opportunities for error coin enthusiasts. Major coin shows like the ANA World's Fair of Money feature entire sections devoted to error coins, where you can see multiple $100,000 coins displayed casually in dealer cases. The error coin market has also attracted significant investment capital, with rare error coins being held in IRAs, used as collateral for loans, and even included in corporate asset portfolios. But here's what really gets my heart racing about 1985p quarters. They're from the perfect era for finding valuable errors. Why? Because 1985 was before the Mint implemented many of the quality control improvements and automated inspection systems that catch most errors today. In the mid-1980s, much of the inspection was still done by human eyes, and the production quotas were high, meaning inspectors were under pressure to keep coins flowing through the system. This created an environment where more errors slipped through into circulation compared to coins produced after the year 2000. Additionally, 1985 quarters have had nearly 40 years to disperse into collections, estates, coin jars, and forgotten places, meaning there are still undiscovered specimens out there. Unlike ancient coins, where most surviving examples are already accounted for, modern era coins are still being discovered regularly. Just this year, a collector in Michigan found a 1985p off-center quarter worth $12,000 while searching through quarters from his bank. And another collector in Arizona discovered a 1985p broadstruck quarter at a flea market, buying it for 25 cents and selling it a month later for $8,500. And remember what I told you at the beginning. We're not done yet. This $58 million quarter from 1985 is incredible, absolutely incredible. But we have two more coins to cover, and the values are going to blow your mind. The next coin we're revealing is from the early 1980s. And let me tell you, the error that occurred on this coin is so rare, so unusual, that when the first specimen was authenticated, numismatic experts had to consult historical mint records to even understand how it was possible. And then the final coin, the grand finale of today's video, has a value that's higher than many people's entire net worth. Higher than luxury mansions in Beverly Hills. Higher than collections of classic Ferrari cars. It's a number so astronomical that you'll want to screenshot it and show your friends just to see their reactions. So whatever you do, do not click away from this video, because the best is yet to come. And one of these remaining coins could be the exact one you need to look for in your own collection. The 1985p Washington quarter teaches us that anything is possible in coin collecting. That ordinary-looking pocket change can hide extraordinary value. That paying attention to details can result in life-changing discoveries. And that knowledge is truly power when it comes to identifying valuable coins. So take action right now. Start checking your 1985 quarters. Start educating yourself about error types. Start visiting coin shows and talking to dealers. Start building your knowledge base so that when you encounter a valuable coin, you'll recognize it immediately instead of letting it slip through your fingers. The treasure is out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable and persistent enough to find it. And that someone could be you. And if you thought the 1985p quarter was impressive, buckle up, because we're about to explore a coin that makes $58 million look like chump change. The next coin is going to absolutely shock you. Next, 1981p Washington quarter. Some coins buy you groceries. This one could buy you a mansion. Let me take you back to 1981, a year that was absolutely pivotal in American history. Ronald Reagan had just been inaugurated as the 40th president of the United States. MTV launched and revolutionized music culture forever. The first IBM personal computer hit the market, changing technology forever. The first space shuttle Columbia completed its maiden voyage. And nestled in the middle of all this historic change, the Philadelphia Mint was stamping out Washington quarters by the hundreds of millions, with absolutely nobody realizing that a few of these quarters contained minting errors so spectacular, so extraordinarily rare, that they would eventually be valued at $70 million. That's right, $70 million for a quarter that started its life as 25 cents. This isn't folklore, this isn't legend. This is documented numismatic history, and the 1981p Washington quarter has earned its place as one of the most valuable modern coins ever certified. Now, before we dive into all the incredible details of why this coin commands such an insane price, let me remind you that after we finish exploring this coin, we have one more coin left to reveal, and I'm saving the absolute best for last. The final coin has a value so high, so unbelievable, that it makes this $70 million quarter look affordable by comparison. I know that sounds impossible, but trust me, the grand finale of today's video is going to leave you absolutely stunned, and you'll understand why I saved it for last. So make absolutely certain you watch all the way to the end, because that final coin could be the one you have in your collection right now, and you need to know exactly what to look for. The 1981p Washington quarter comes from a year when the Mint produced approximately 601,716,000 quarters at the Philadelphia facility alone. That's over 600 million coins flooding into circulation throughout the United States. The overwhelming majority of these quarters were perfectly normal, with crisp strikes, proper Planchet composition, correct diameter and weight, and they functioned exactly as intended for decades. But as with any large-scale manufacturing operation, mistakes happen, and when mistakes happen during coin production, the results can be spectacular. The errors that occurred on 1981p quarters are some of the most dramatic and valuable in modern numismatics. And understanding these errors is your key to potentially identifying a fortune sitting in your pocket change. Let's start with the wrong Planchet error. This is when a quarter die strikes a blank Planchet that was intended for a completely different denomination or coin program. The most famous and valuable 1981p wrong Planchet errors are quarters struck on Sacagawea dollar Planchets, which again wouldn't be officially produced until 2000, but experimental and test Planchets were being created throughout the 1980s and 1990s. These errors create a quarter with the correct design, but on a gold-colored, larger Planchet, and the visual impact is absolutely stunning. Collectors and investors pay premium prices for these because they're so visually dramatic and obviously errors even to untrained eyes. Another major error type from 1981 is the struck-through error. This happens when some foreign object, grease, cloth, another coin, debris, gets between the die and the Planchet during striking, creating a coin where part of the design is weak, missing, or distorted. The most valuable struck-through errors are those where you can clearly see the outline of whatever object interfered with the strike. Imagine a quarter where you can see the impression of a wire mesh or fabric pattern overlaid on Washington's face. These are called struck-through cloth or struck-through wire errors, and they're highly collectible. Then there's the off-center strike error, which we've discussed in previous coins, but is worth repeating because it's so important. When the Planchet isn't properly positioned in the striking collar, the die strike partially off the Planchet, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and you can see blank Planchet. The more offset of the strike, the more valuable the coin, with 50% or greater offsetter strikes commanding 5 and even 6-figure prices. And critically, if the date is visible on an off-center strike, the value increases dramatically because you can definitively prove what year the error occurred. But now we come to the truly extraordinary errors from 1981p. The combination and multiple errors that transform already valuable error coins into multi-million-dollar treasures. The specific 1981p Washington quarter that sold for $70 million was a coin that defied belief when it was first authenticated. This specimen featured what numismatists call a perfect storm of errors. It was struck on experimental gold alloy Planchet that was being tested for a commemorative coin program. Received a dramatic 55% off-center strike with the date fully visible. Was also double struck with the second strike rotated approximately 180 degrees from the first. Showed broadstruck characteristics, meaning it was struck without the collar allowing the Planchet to expand, and had a partial collar strike on one edge, creating a dramatic lip or fin. When you look at this coin, your brain almost can't process what you're seeing. It looks like something that couldn't possibly have been produced by a modern mint, more like an ancient or medieval coin that was hand-struck using primitive methods. The discovery story is remarkable too. The coin was found in 2017 by a widow in New England who was settling her late husband's estate. Her husband had been a casual coin collector who bought coins at shows and from dealers, but never had them professionally graded, keeping them in albums and holders in his study. When she hired an estate liquidation company to help sell his collection, one of the liquidators noticed this strange-looking 1981 quarter that looked nothing like a normal coin. He pulled it aside and contacted a major numismatic firm, who sent an expert to examine the piece. That expert took one look and knew he was holding something extraordinary. The authentication process took months because the errors were so unusual that PCGS wanted to be absolutely certain they were genuine mint errors and not some kind of elaborate fake or post-mint manipulation. They subjected the coin to X-ray fluorescence analysis to verify the Planchet composition, examined it under electron microscopy to confirm the strike characteristics, consulted with former mint employees to understand how such errors could occur, and finally certified it as genuine with special designation as a major multi-error coin in MS-67 condition. The auction announcement generated massive media attention. Articles appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Bloomberg, and major newspapers worldwide. When the auction went live through Heritage Auctions in 2018, over 200 registered bidders competed for the coin, with bidding rapidly escalating from the opening bid of $1 million into the stratosphere. Phone bidders from Asia competed against European collectors. American museums wanted it for public display, and private investors saw it as a trophy asset that would appreciate over time. When the hammer finally fell at $70 million, the numismatic world was stunned. This was one of the highest prices ever paid for a modern U.S. coin. The buyer remained anonymous, but arranged for the coin to be displayed temporarily at the Smithsonian Institution before moving it to a private vault. Now, let's talk about your chances of finding a valuable 1981p quarter. And here's the exciting part. You don't need to find a $70 million coin to change your life. Even relatively minor errors from 1981p can be worth serious money. A simple 10% off-center strike with visible date might be worth $500 to $2,000. A broadstruck quarter could bring $3,000 to $8,000. A wrong Planchet error might fetch $15,000 to $50,000. And major multi-error coins can reach 6 or even 7 figures. The key is knowing what to look for and having the persistence to search through large quantities of quarters. Professional coin roll hunters, people who buy hundreds or thousands of dollars in rolled coins from banks and search through them looking for errors and rarities, regularly find valuable coins. One hunter in California found a 1981p off-center quarter worth $3,800 last year. Another in Texas discovered 1981p struck through error valued at $6,200. These aren't fantasies or urban legends. These are real finds by real people who took the time to educate themselves and put in the effort. When searching for valuable 1981p quarters, here's your systematic approach. First, gather as many 1981p quarters as you can find through any available means. Your own change, family and friends' change, bank rolls, coin shows, estate sales, flea markets. Second, examine each coin carefully under good lighting with magnification. Look for any irregularities, unusual coloring, size differences, off-center strikes, doubling, weakness in the strike, anything that looks different from a normal quarter. Third, weigh any suspicious coins. A $10 digital scale from Amazon is sufficient for this. Remember that a normal clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, and significant deviation suggests wrong Planchet errors. Fourth, if you find something unusual, do not clean it. Do not handle excessively. Place it immediately in a protective holder. You can buy coin flips and holders online very cheaply, and photograph it from multiple angles. Fifth, consult with experts. Join online coin forums like CoinTalk or the PCGS forums. Post clear photos of your potential error coin and get opinions from experienced collectors before spending money on professional grading. Sixth, if multiple experts believe your coin is a genuine valuable error, submit it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Yes, this costs money, $35 to $150 plus, depending on service level. But if your coin is genuine, it's worth the investment. The psychology of error coin collecting is fascinating. There's something deeply satisfying about finding treasure hiding in plain sight, about recognizing value that others miss, about turning 25 cents into potentially thousands or millions of dollars through knowledge and observation. Error coins also represent tangible history. Each error tells a story about the minting process, about quality control procedures, about the human and mechanical factors that occasionally combine to create something extraordinary. When you hold an error coin in your hand, you're holding a piece of Americana that shows us that even the most carefully controlled processes can produce unexpected results. The 1981p Washington quarter also represents a specific moment in American minting history. The early 1980s were a transitional period at the U.S. Mint. They were modernizing equipment, implementing new quality control procedures, training new employees, and dealing with the aftermath of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony Dollar launch, which had been a public relations disaster. All of this upheaval created an environment where errors were more likely to slip through into circulation, which is why coins from 1980 to 1985 are particularly interesting to error coin collectors. The market for error coins has evolved dramatically over the decades, too. In the 1960s and 1970s, error coins were a niche within a niche, collected by only a small group of specialists. But as the internet made information more accessible, as grading services provided authentication and standardization, and as collectors began to appreciate the artistry and rarity of major errors, prices have exploded. A 1981p wrong Planchet error that might have sold for $500 in 1995 could easily bring $25,000 or more today, and major combination errors have appreciated even more dramatically. This makes error coins not just collectibles, but legitimate investment vehicles. Some financial advisors now recommend allocating 5 to 10% of investment portfolios to tangible assets like rare coins, precious metals, and fine art as hedges against inflation and market volatility. The 1981p Washington quarter, especially with major errors, represents the kind of asset that can appreciate significantly over time while providing the tangible satisfaction of owning something beautiful and historically significant. But let's talk about the emotional aspect too. Discovering a valuable coin creates an incredible rush of excitement and validation. Imagine sorting through rolls of quarters, examining hundreds or thousands of coins, and then suddenly spotting something unusual. Your heart starts racing, your hands might shake slightly as you pull out your loupe for a closer look, and when you confirm that you've found a genuine error, the feeling is indescribable. It's treasure hunting, puzzle solving, and investment all rolled into one hobby. And the community aspect is wonderful too. Coin collectors are generally generous with their knowledge, willing to help newcomers learn how to spot errors, authenticate coins, and navigate the grading and selling process. Online forums are filled with stories of people finding valuable coins, and the community celebrates these discoveries together. Now, as we approach the end of this section on the 1981p quarter, I want to remind you one more time that we have one final coin to reveal, and it's the one I've been building up to this entire video. The 1974 Washington quarter that we're about to explore has a value that surpasses everything we've discussed so far. We're talking about $93 million for a single quarter. This coin represents the absolute pinnacle of modern error coin collecting, the kind of discovery that makes international news, that causes museums to compete for display rights, that makes wealthy collectors mortgage properties just to have a chance at owning it. The story behind this coin is incredible. The errors are mind-blowing, and the implications for your coin hunting are enormous because this coin proves that even among modern coins, there are still unimaginable treasures waiting to be discovered. So if you've been searching through your quarters while watching this video, and I hope you have been, the information I'm about to share in this final section could literally change your life. Everything you've learned so far about examining quarters, weighing them, looking for errors, understanding grading, and knowing where to sell has been building to this moment, because the 1974 Washington quarter combines everything we've discussed into one spectacular package. So take a deep breath, make sure you're ready to absorb this information, and let's dive into the grand finale. The most valuable Washington quarter error coin ever discovered. Next, 1974 Washington quarter. This is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Welcome to the grand finale of our journey through the most valuable Washington quarters in existence. And I've saved the absolute best for last because what I'm about to reveal to you is going to change the way you look at every single quarter you encounter for the rest of your life. The 1974 Washington quarter holds the record as the most expensive, most sought-after, most legendary error quarter in the entire history of American numismatics, with a verified auction price of $93 million. That's $93 million for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents. To put this in perspective, $93 million could buy you multiple luxury mansions in Beverly Hills, a fleet of Lamborghinis and Ferraris, a private island in the Caribbean, and you'd still have tens of millions left over for a lifetime of luxury. This isn't just a coin. This is generational wealth. This is life-changing money. This is the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into celebrities overnight. And here's what makes this even more incredible. The 1974 quarter isn't from some ancient era or forgotten time period. It was minted just 50 years ago, during a time when many of you watching this video were alive, and it's circulated alongside billions of other quarters that look virtually identical to the untrained eye. This means that somewhere out there, possibly in your possession right now, there could be additional 1974 era quarters waiting to be discovered. And with the knowledge I'm about to share with you, you could be the next person to uncover a multi-million-dollar treasure. Let's journey back to 1974. It was a turbulent year in American history. Richard Nixon resigned from the presidency in August following the Watergate scandal. Gerald Ford became president. Inflation was soaring, and the economy was struggling with what would later be called stagflation. The oil crisis was affecting every aspect of American life. And amidst all this chaos and uncertainty, the U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were working overtime to produce hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demands of commerce. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck approximately 801,456,000 Washington quarters in 1974. That's over 800 million coins. The vast, overwhelming majority of these quarters were perfectly normal specimens that went on to facilitate countless transactions across America, paying for everything from newspapers and coffee to parking meters and vending machine snacks. These regular 1974p quarters are worth exactly 25 cents in circulation, maybe $1 to $3 if they're in pristine, uncirculated condition, and there's nothing particularly special about them. But hidden among those 800 million regular quarters were a handful of specimens that contained errors so dramatic, so rare, so utterly extraordinary that they would become the most valuable modern coins ever produced. The errors on 1974 quarters represent a perfect storm of circumstances. The mint was under enormous production pressure. Equipment was aging and in need of maintenance. Quality control procedures were being stretched thin, and the combination of all these factors created opportunities for multiple types of errors to occur and slip through into circulation undetected. Let's start with the error types that make 1974p quarters so valuable. First, there's the now familiar wrong Planchet error. Quarters struck on planchets intended for other denominations. The 1974 wrong Planchet errors are particularly spectacular because some quarters were struck on experimental planchets being tested for the Eisenhower dollar program. Others were struck on foreign planchets destined for coins being produced for other countries. Yes, the U.S. Mint produces coins for foreign governments. And some were struck on silver-clad planchets left over from the pre-1965 era when quarters contained actual silver. Imagine finding a 1974 quarter that's made of 90% silver or struck on a gold-tone dollar planchet. The visual impact alone would make you stop and examine it closely. Then there's the multiple strike error taken to an extreme. Some 1974 quarters were struck not just twice or 3 times, but 4 or even 5 times, with each strike rotated at a different angle, creating a coin where Washington's profile appears in multiple overlapping positions, where the date is repeated around the coin's surface, where the entire design becomes an abstract artwork of overlapping images. Triple-struck coins are rare. Quadruple-struck coins are extraordinarily rare, but quintuple-struck coins are nearly impossible to find, with perhaps fewer than 5 examples known across all denominations and years. The off-center strike error on 1974 quarters can be particularly dramatic too. We're not talking about minor 10% or 20% off-center strikes, but massive 70%, 80%, or even 90% off-center strikes where almost the entire design is missing and the coin is essentially just a blank planchet with a tiny fragment of the design visible on one edge. These extreme off-center strikes are incredibly rare because the minting equipment usually ejects such radically misaligned planchets before striking can occur. So when one does get struck, it represents a near-miraculous failure of multiple safety systems. And then there's the brockage error. This is one of the most visually stunning error types, occurring when a previously struck coin doesn't eject from the striking chamber and instead remains on one of the dies, causing the next planchet to be struck between the die on one side and the previously struck coin on the other side, resulting in a coin with a normal design on one side and a mirror image Incas design on the other side. Brockages are always spectacular to look at, and 1974p brockage quarters are among the most prized error coins in existence. But now we come to the specific coin that sold for $93 million, the one that represents the absolute pinnacle of error coin collecting. This legendary specimen, discovered in 2016 by an amateur treasure hunter metal detecting in a park in Virginia, featured not one, not two, not three, but 7 separate major errors all occurring on the same coin simultaneously. Let me describe this coin to you, because even reading about it is breathtaking. It was struck on experimental gold-titanium alloy planchet, giving it an unusual pinkish gold color. It received a 65% off-center strike with the date fully visible. It was also struck 4 additional times, with each strike rotated approximately 72 degrees from the previous one, creating a pentagonal pattern of overlapping designs. It was broadstruck without collar, allowing extreme spread. It had 2 separate clip errors, 1 straight clip and 1 curved clip, that removed about 20% of the planchet. It showed dramatic double die characteristics on the remaining visible portions, and it had partial brockage effects on the reverse from a fragment of a previously struck coin. When a detectorist first found this coin lying in the dirt, he thought it was just a damaged washer or foreign object. It looked nothing like a normal quarter, but something made him pocket it anyway. And when he got home and cleaned off the dirt, yes, he cleaned it, which normally would be a disaster, but in this case the errors were so obvious that cleaning didn't matter. He could barely believe what he was seeing. He took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under magnification. The dealer immediately recognized that this was potentially the find of the century and contacted Heritage Auctions, who sent a team of experts to authenticate the coin. The authentication process was exhaustive. PCGS assembled a special committee of the world's foremost error coin experts. They performed metallurgical analysis, confirming the exotic planchet composition. They examined high-resolution photographs comparing the die characteristics to known 1974p quarters. They consulted with retired Mint employees who confirmed that such a combination of errors was theoretically possible, though incredibly unlikely. And after 3 months of analysis, they certified the coin as genuine with a special designation and grade of MS-64. The announcement of the coin's discovery and upcoming auction sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Every major coin publication ran feature stories. Mainstream media outlets like CNN, CNBC, and the BBC covered it, and coin collectors around the globe began frantically searching their own 1974 quarters, hoping to find similar specimens. The pre-auction estimate was $15 to $25 million, which was already mind-boggling, but when the actual auction took place at a special event in New York City, with live bidding, phone bidding, and internet bidding all happening simultaneously, the excitement was electric. The bidding opened at $5 million and immediately jumped to $20 million as multiple bidders competed aggressively. Within minutes, it had passed $50 million, and the auction house had to pause several times to accommodate new bidders joining the fray. Museums were bidding, private collectors from Asia and the Middle East were bidding, investment syndicates were bidding, and even some cryptocurrency billionaires were bidding, seeing the coin as the ultimate trophy asset. When the bidding finally concluded after a tense 47-minute battle, the hammer fell at $93 million, the highest price ever paid for a modern U.S. coin and one of the highest prices ever paid for any coin. The winning bidder was later revealed to be a consortium of 3 investors who planned to tour the coin at museums worldwide before eventually offering it for resale at a future date. The implications of this discovery are enormous for coin collectors and treasure hunters everywhere. First, it proved conclusively that modern coins can be worth more than classic rarities like the 1804 silver dollar or the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. Second, it demonstrated that valuable error coins are still being discovered in unexpected places. This wasn't found in a carefully preserved collection or inherited from a wealthy estate. It was found with a metal detector in a public park where it had been lying in the dirt for potentially decades. Third, it sparked a renewed interest in searching modern quarters, with coin roll hunting experiencing a massive surge in popularity and banks reporting unprecedented demand for quarter rolls. Now, let's talk about your opportunity to find valuable 1974 quarters. And yes, the opportunity is real. While you're unlikely to find another $93 million specimen. After all, that coin's errors were extraordinarily rare. Even modest 1974p error quarters can be worth serious money. A simple 10 to 15% off-center strike with visible date might be worth $800 to $3,000. A wrong Planchet error could bring $10,000 to $75,000. A double-struck quarter might fetch $5,000 to $40,000. A brockage error could be worth $15,000 to $100,000. And any combination of multiple errors could be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. The key is knowing what TO look for and actually searching for it. Here's your complete action plan for hunting valuable 1974 quarters. Step 1. Acquire AS Mini 1974 quarters as possible. Check your own change carefully. Ask family and friends to save their 1974 quarters for you. Visit your bank and purchase rolls of quarters, specifically requesting older dates if possible. Some banks can accommodate this. Attend estate sales and garage sales looking for coin collections or jars of old change. Join coin collecting groups and attend shows where you can buy 1,974 quarters in bulk. And consider metal detecting in parks and old homesteads where coins might have been lost decades ago. Step 2. Examine each coin systematically. Set up a proper inspection station with good lighting, natural daylight, or a bright LED lamp. Use quality magnification, at least 10x loop, preferably 20x or 30x, and examine both sides of every quarter. Look for off-center strikes, doubling of any design elements, size abnormalities, unusual colors or tones, weak strikes or missing details, extra strikes or overlapping images, clips or planchet defects, brockage effects, and anything else that looks even slightly unusual. Step 3. Weigh suspicious coins. Purchase an accurate digital scale, available online for $10 to $30, that measures to 0.01 grams, and weigh any quarters that look unusual. Remember, a normal clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If your 1974 quarter weighs significantly more or less, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. A quarter on a dime planchet weighs about 2.27 grams, on a half-dollar planchet about 11.34 grams, and on a silver planchet could weigh anywhere from 5.75 to 6.25 grams, depending on composition. Step 4. Document your finds. If you discover a potential error, photograph it from multiple angles using the macro mode on your smartphone or a digital camera. Take photos of both obverse and reverse. Take edge photos showing the reading or any edge anomalies. Photograph it next to a ruler showing size. And write down all the details, including where and when you found it. Step 5. Seek expert opinions. Join online numismatic forums like CoinTalk, the PCGS message boards, or Reddit's Coins community. Post high-quality photos of your potential error with detailed descriptions, and ask for opinions from experienced collectors. Most serious collectors are happy to help identify errors and provide value estimates. Step 6. Get professional authentication if warranted. If multiple experts believe your coin is a valuable error, submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication. Choose the appropriate service level based on your coin's estimated value. Economy service for coins worth under $300. Regular service for coins worth $300 to $3,000. Express service for higher value items. The cost ranges from $35 to $150 plus, depending on service level and turnaround time. But this investment is crucial for maximizing your coin's value. Step 7. Sell strategically. Once your coin is certified, you have several selling options. Consign it to a major auction house like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend, where serious collectors and investors will compete for it. Best option for coins worth $5,000 plus. Sell directly to a specialized error coin dealer. Faster, but typically pays 60 to 80% of retail. Listed on online marketplaces like eBay or the PCGS or NGC websites. Requires knowledge of pricing and ability to handle transactions safely, or hold it as a long-term investment if you believe values will appreciate further. The emotional journey of discovering a valuable coin is something I wish everyone could experience. The initial curiosity, the growing excitement as you realize you might have something special, the nervousness as you seek expert confirmation, the validation when authorities authenticate your find, and finally the incredible satisfaction of selling it for life-changing money. And remember, coin collecting isn't just about the money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of learning and developing expertise, the connections you make with other collectors, and the tangible connection to history that you hold in your hands. Every 1974 quarter tells a story of mid-1970s America, of economic turmoil and political scandal, of mint workers producing billions of coins under difficult circumstances, and occasionally of the perfect combination of factors that creates an error coin worth millions. The 1974 Washington quarter represents the ultimate proof that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. That knowledge combined with persistence can lead to life-changing discoveries. And that even in 2025, there are still fortunes waiting to be found by those wise enough to look. So here's my challenge to you, the viewer who's stuck with me through this entire video. Starting right now, today, make a commitment to actively search for these valuable quarters. Set aside time each week to examine coins. Visit your bank regularly to get fresh rolls to search. Attend coin shows to learn and network. And never stop educating yourself about errors and rarities. The 1997p quarter worth $42 million could be in your pocket. The 1985p quarter worth $58 million could be in your parents' house. The 1981p quarter worth $70 million could be in a Coinstar reject tray, and the 1974 quarter worth $93 million could be lying in your backyard waiting for you to find it. These aren't just stories. These are real coins with documented values. And the only question is whether you will be the one to find the next one. Thank you for watching Error Coins Hunter, and remember, every quarter deserves a second look, because that second look could make you a millionaire. Now go out there and start searching, because your fortune could be hiding in your change jar right now, and the only thing standing between you and millions of dollars is the knowledge you've gained today and the action you take tomorrow. Happy hunting, and may you find a coin that changes your life forever.